ladies and gentlemen, building.gentlemen. Some days you wake up and you feel it. That gentle tug at your chest. That whisper that today, more than any other day, you're going to need to be careful. Not because something bad is coming, but because something real is coming. Real emotions, real people, real temptations, real challenges. And if your heart is wide open with no guidance, no boundaries, no shield, then baby, anything can walk in. So before you walk into this day, breathe. Set an intention, not just for your actions, but for your heart. Because that's where it starts, right? In the secret spaces of your soul, in the thoughts you don't speak out loud, in the moments when you feel everything too deeply and wonder if anyone else notices. You've been through too much to give your heart away on a discount. You've cried too many tears in silence, fought too many invisible battles, smiled when you wanted to scream, and still you got up. Still you showed up, but if you're not careful, you'll keep showing up for everything and everyone except yourself. Guarding your heart doesn't mean building walls so high nobody can reach you. It means being wise enough to know who gets access, who earns it, who deserves it, because access to your heart is sacred. Not everyone is meant to be trusted with that kind of intimacy. Not every opportunity is meant to hold your soul, and not every desire is meant to be chased. You've been in rooms before where your presence was tolerated but not celebrated, where your softness was mistaken for weakness, where your silence was misinterpreted as ignorance. But you've grown now. You've learned that discernment is not just a gift, it's a necessity. You need to protect the parts of you that are still healing. You can't keep offering broken pieces of yourself and expecting wholeness in return. You can't keep showing love to people who confuse chaos with passion. You can't keep opening your heart to things that drain you, then wonder why you feel empty. Your peace is too precious. Your joy is too rare. Your healing has cost too much. And yet life will try to sneak in doubt when you're not looking. Disappointment will disguise itself as opportunity. People will come dressed in potential, but carry patterns that don't match your purpose. You've got to be on guard today, not paranoid, but intentional. Because when your heart is open without discernment, you absorb everything. That energy in the room, it sticks to you. That casual word spoken in sarcasm, it cuts deep. That subtle shade wrapped in a compliment, it lingers, and before you know it, you're walking around with weights you didn't even pick up. So pause, center yourself, ask what your heart needs right now. Not what you want out of habit or loneliness, but what your soul craves in truth. Maybe it's silence, maybe it's strength, maybe it's a boundary you were too afraid to set yesterday. Let today be the day you say, my heart matters, my emotions are valid, my time is valuable. Don't shrink to fit into spaces that require you to meet your power. Don't settle for connections that make you question your worth. Don't perform for approval that won't feed your spirit. You don't owe anyone access to the version of you you're still building. They didn't see the nights you cried out for clarity. They didn't see the mornings you chose courage over comfort. They weren't there when you had to carry faith in one hand and fear in the other. But you made it. You're here. Now protect what got you here. Your heart is not fragile. It's fierce. It has scars, sure, but those scars are proof that you survived what tried to break you, that you loved even when it hurt, that you kept believing even when your hope was hanging by a thread, that you chose light even when darkness was easier, and yet you're still becoming, still learning how to say no without guilt. Still figuring out what real love feels like, still discovering the power in softness. You don't have to have it all together today, but you do have to be aware. Aware of what enters your spirit, aware of what influences your thoughts, aware of what triggers old wounds. Because when you're aware, you get to choose. And that's the power nobody can take from you, the power to choose. You get to choose joy, choose boundaries, Choose healing, choose stillness, choose to be seen fully or not at all. Choose to walk away from what no longer aligns. Choose to protect your peace like your life depends on it, because it does. This world will try to harden you. People will try to mold you. Culture will try to distract you. But when your heart is grounded, nothing can pull you out of alignment. You stop being reactive and start being intentional. You stop chasing validation and start honoring your truth. So go into this day not as a survivor of your past, but as a curator of your present. Build the kind of peace that doesn't need to be explained. Carry the kind of confidence that doesn't need to be loud. Move with the kind of wisdom that silences chaos before it even speaks. Let your heart be guided by something deeper than fear. Let your emotions be filtered through purpose, not pain. Let your compassion be strong enough to forgive, but wise enough not to repeat. You're not too much. You're just enough for the right space, the right people, the right purpose. And until those things align, protect your heart like the treasure it is. You are not here to survive this day. You're here to thrive in it, to own it, to shape it with intention, to show up with the kind of love that starts within and radiates outward. And if something doesn't feel right, you don't owe it your energy. You don't have to engage. You don't have to explain. You just have to guard. Because when your heart is guarded with truth, with purpose, with love, you walk different, you choose different, you attract different, and your life begins to reflect the strength of a woman who decided her heart was too sacred to be handled carelessly. Again, so move through this day like your healing is not up for negotiation. Walk like someone who knows what she carries. Smile like someone who's free. Love like someone who knows how to protect her peace. And above all, keep your heart centered, safe, and rooted in the truth that you are worth everything it takes to protect it. Protect your heart with intention, not fear. That statement right there, it's a whole mindset. It's not just about avoiding pain. It's about honoring your worth. Too often we confuse protection with isolation. We think that building walls so high that no one can reach us is safety. But real protection doesn't shut everything out. It lets the right things in. And that starts with intention, being clear about what your heart deserves and what it cannot afford.
Access to your emotions is sacred. Guard it wisely. There's a deep truth in that, one that doesn't always get the attention it deserves. Too many times we give away pieces of ourselves like we don't know the value of what we're carrying. We let people into spaces they haven't earned. We share emotions in environments that haven't proven safe. And before we know it, we feel exposed, disappointed, maybe even ashamed for letting our guard down too soon. Your emotions are not a weakness, they are a gift. They are a reflection of your sensitivity, your depth, your ability to feel the world in ways others may not understand. That's a rare strength. And anything rare is meant to be treasured, not exploited. That's why access to your emotional world must be intentional. Everyone doesn't get to see you cry. Everyone doesn't get to hear your heart when it's aching. Everyone doesn't deserve the truth of how deeply you love, or how hard you pray, or how hard you see you struggle. This is not about becoming cold or detached. It's about knowing that vulnerability is power, but only when placed in the right hands. When you open up to someone, when you let them into the sacred space of your heart, you're giving them the ability to affect your spirit. That's not light. That's not casual. That's soul-level access. And if you're not careful, you'll keep giving that access to people who only know how to take, not how to pour back in. Wisdom teaches you that guarding your emotions doesn't mean hiding them. It means discerning who gets to experience them. It's not about being fake or distant. It's about protecting your emotional integrity. Because once someone knows where your softness lies, they can either handle it with care or use it as leverage. And if you've ever been hurt by someone who used your truth against you, you already know how important it is to choose wisely. There are people who feed off your openness but have no intention of matching your energy. People who will take your vulnerability and turn it into gossip. People who will comfort you in private and compete with you in public. This is why you have to guard that sacred space not out of fear, but out of a reverence for yourself. You're not obligated to explain every emotion you feel. You don't have to justify or say your janabnis, your teeth, your anger. Your emotions are valid, whether or not someone else understands them. And when you start to honor your emotional truth, you realize that visibility isn't just about being seen, it's about being understood by the right people. When you guard your emotions wisely, you create space for emotional safety. You give yourself permission to feel deeply without performing. You allow your heart to breathe without the fear of judgment. You set the standard for how others are allowed to interact with your truth. And you become your own sanctuary, not just someone else's safe place. Because here's the truth though, you don't owe your emotions to people who haven't shown they can hold them. Not everyone is emotionally mature. Not everyone has earned that kind of access. And that's not bitterness, that's wisdom, that's healing, that's growth. The more you honor your own emotions, the less likely you are to accept relationships or situations that dishonor them. You start to recognize when you're being emotionally manipulated. You begin to walk away from conversations that drain you. You stop over-explaining yourself to people committed to misunderstanding you. You realize that protecting your emotions is not a rejection of others. It's a reflection of self-respect. You were never meant to be emotionally available to everyone. Your heart is not a revolving door. Your soul is not a public space. You are a sacred space. And the emotions that live within you, they are a divine language. They tell your stories, they carry your battles, they hold your joy. So let access to them be a privilege, not a right. Let them be guarded, not hidden, protected, not repressed, cherished, not exploited. Discernment is necessary for peace and purpose. Without it, you'll find yourself constantly pulled in different actions, saying yes to a spirit, is screaming no, entertaining what looks good but doesn't feel right. Discernment is that quiet inner compass that helps you see beyond the surface, beyond the charm, beyond the performance. It's the voice that says pause, look deeper. Everything that glitters is not aligned with your growth. Peace doesn't come from avoiding conflict. It comes from making decisions that protect your alignment, your energy, your values, and purpose. Purpose requires clarity. It requires you to move with intention, to choose wisely where you invest your time, your love, your presence. Without discernment, you'll keep pouring into things that look full of promise but leave you empty. You'll keep chasing moments that feel good temporarily but delay your potential. There's a difference between being open and being available. Discernment teaches you how to recognize who and what is worthy or availability. It shows you how to say, this opportunity looks great, but is it for me? It helps you hear beneath the words, feel beneath the gestures. You begin to realize that energy doesn't lie even when words do. That's the power of discernment. It protects you from deception, not just from others, but from the lies you sometimes sell yourself out of fear or desire. We live in a world that constantly pushes more and more connection, more access, more movement. But more doesn't always mean better. Sometimes more is north, sometimes more is much like distraction. Discernment gives you the courage to choose less when must brings peace. It teaches you that silence can be sacred, that stillness is not weakness, that missing out on the wrong thing is actually a blessing in disguise. Not everyone who walks with you is meant to walk into your destiny. Not every voice should influence your direction. Discernment gives you the wisdom to wear the difference between those who are for your image, those who are for your soul, between those who clap when you win and those who quietly compete while pretending to support. And when you start moving with discernment, you lose the need to prove. You stop asking for permission to honor what you know deep down. There will be moments when your discernment isolates you, when it tells you to walk away from something that looks perfect on paper, when it leads you to leave the room and the call, ignore the invitation, and you'll question yourself because fear will whisper, what if you're wrong? But peace will be your confirmation. Peace will be your answer. You'll know you're walking in discernment when you stop negotiating your intuition. When you no longer shrink your truth to fit someone else's comfort. When you stop making excuses for why something doesn't sit right. You won't need a dramatic reason, just knowing it doesn't align is written. Discernment requires you to trust yourself, even when it's hard. To believe they are worthy of relationships that feel safe, opportunities that feel aligned, spaces that feel nourishing. You don't have to settle for almost. You don't have to beg for clarity when confusion is already a sign. If it doesn't bring peace, If it doesn't feel purpose, if it doesn't honor the person you're becoming, it's not for you. Let your decisions be rooted in discernment, not desperation. You are not too sensitive. You are not overthinking. You are evolving. And evolution demands that you choose with wisdom. That you slow down long enough to hear what your spirit is saying. That you don't let urgency override alignment. That you trust that the right things will not require you to abandon yourself to receive them. Discernment is not about being perfect, it's about being present, being tuned in, being honest about what feels good on the surface but heavy in the soul. And when you choose discernment, you choose peace over performance and purpose out over pressure. Every time, your healing journey deserves strong boundaries, not because you're bitter, but because you're finally learning what it means to honor yourself. Healing isn't just about moving past pain, it's about rebuilding from it. It's about realizing that your heart, your mind, and your spirit went through something that shifted you, and now the way you allow people into your space is that shift too. Not everyone can walk with you in the season of becoming. Not everyone should. Boundaries aren't walls, they're doors with locks opened by wisdom, not by desperation. They are the quiet, powerful ways you say, I love myself too much to allow this again. They are the silent prayers turned into daily decisions, and they don't need to be loud to be firm. They don't need to be explained to be honored. The more you heal, the more you begin to understand that what you allow continues, and what you walk away from clears the path for something better. When you were broken, you may have said yes to things that made you feel less than. You may have tolerated relationships that echoed your wounds instead of speaking to your worth. You may have played small just to feel safe. But now you're healing. Now you're remembering who you are. And with that remembrance comes responsibility. Responsibility to protect your progress. Responsibility to guard your energy. Responsibility to choose wisely. Strong boundaries are not about keeping people out, they're about keeping your peace in. You've cried too hard for this peace. Fought too long for this stability, dug too deep to finally feel whole. And now that you're here, you must choose to protect it. Even if it disappoints people who once benefited from your lack of limits. Healing doesn't just reveal your strength, it exposes your patterns. It shows you where you gave too much, where you stayed too long, where you let people talk to you any kind of way because you didn't want to lose them. But losing yourself, that costs too much. You've paid that price already, and this time you know better. You feel it in your body when something isn't right. You hear it in your spirit when peace starts slipping. That's not paranoia, that's discernment born from healing. You're not obligated to explain the boundaries that came from your pain. You're not mean because you say no now. You're not cold because you protect your scale, your time, your heart. You're not selfish because you've decided to stop showing up for people who drain you. You're just growing. And growth will always require adjustment. Not everyone will be able to handle this version of you that no longer allows to function in the name of love. Some people won't understand why you've changed, why you're quiet now, why you don't respond the way you used to. But that's not your burden to carry. Your boundary is not a betrayal, it's a necessary shift. Because when you were hurting, your silence was mistaken for comfort. But now that you've found your voice, your peace has become too loud for some. That's okay. Keep going. Strong boundaries teach others how to love you. They teach you how to love yourself. They create space for healthy, mutual, respectful connection. They help filter out what no longer aligns. And they give you the strength to walk away from anything that tries to pull you back into youth outgrown. You didn't come this far to compromise your healing. You have the power to choose what influences you. That's not a small thing that's authority. That's the kind of authority you don't always recognize when you're in survival mode, when your past has made you feel like life just happens to you. But healing shifts that. Growth reminds you you are not helpless. You are not a passive receiver of energy, conversation, or company. You are the gatekeeper. You decide what gets in and what must stay out. The power of influence is subtle. It doesn't always come loud or obvious. It might show up as a conversation that leaves you second-guessing your worth. A friend who only calls when they need something, not when they want to pour into you. An environment that looks like it supports your growth, but behind the scenes it seems to steal your peace. Every moment you're being shaped by what you listen to watch, what you entertain, and who you surround yourself. So the question becomes, are those things building you or breaking you? You don't need to absorb every voice that tries to seep into your life. Not every opinion is qualified to shape your direction. Not every comment deserves a response. There's a freedom in realizing you don't have to take everything in. You can be present without participating. You can be kind without being available. You can be open without being unguarded. That's wisdom. That's ownership. That's your power. Choosing what influences you means being intentional with your time, your space, your attention. Not everything deserves your focus. Not every invitation is divine. Some doors are distractions. Some connections are detours, and just because something shows a show doesn't mean it's meant to stay. You get to choose what speaks into your future. You get to silence the noise that makes your vision cloudy. You get to create an environment internally and externally that aligns with who you are becoming. That might look like limiting your access to social media when it makes you feel less than. That might mean walking away from conversations that are full of gossip and void of growth. That might mean saying no to people who expect the old version of you to keep showing up, even though she no longer fits your healed identity. It's not about being better than anyone, it's about being better for yourself. This is your life, your atmosphere, your energy. And every time you choose what influences you, you're shaping your future. You're deciding what kind of day you'll have, what kind of relationships you'll nurture, what kind of peace you'll protect. That's sacred. That's powerful. You don't need a special occasion or claim to claim that power. You need to decide you're worth it. Sometimes we get so used to chaos that peace feels unfamiliar, so used to criticism that love feels suspicious. But when you start choosing what influences you, you start retraining your spirit. You learn what it feels like to be spoken to with respect. You remember what it feels like to breathe easy, to laugh without tension, to sit in silence and not feel lonely. That's the fruit of healthy influence. You are not a victim of your atmosphere. You are a curator of it. Every yes you give, every no you enforce, every boundary you draw is a brushstroke painting the life you want to live. That kind of power, it's not pride, it's stewardship. You are responsible for your peace, for your purpose, for your healing. And that means being bold enough to say, this doesn't feed me. This doesn't align. This can't stay. What influences you shapes you. So choose wisely. Choose freely. Choose powerfully. Move through the day grounded, not reactive. Because being grounded is a decision. It's not about what's happening around you. It's about what you've chosen to hold steady inside you. Life will always bring something to pull at your peace. A text that hits wrong, a delay you didn't see coming, a moment where you feel overlooked or misunderstood. But you don't have to respond from the wound. You can respond from the root. When you're grounded, you stop letting every situation dictate your emotional temperature. You're no longer tossed back and forth by what people say, how they act, or what they fail to do. You begin to carry a stillness inside of you, a calm that doesn't come from everything going right, but from you knowing who you are regardless of what goes wrong. That's not detachment, it's maturity. That's not apathy, it's alignment, a reactive heart-light edge. Always on the fence, always needing to prove, protect, or perform. But a grounded heart knows when to begin, when to be silent. It knows when to walk away, not out of defeat, but out of discernment. It's not about being passive, it's about being powerful in your pause. Every reaction is a choice, and every choice either protects your peace or gives it away. Being grounded means you take your time before you respond, you breathe before you answer, you listen for what's not being said, you check in with yourself first. Is mine to carry? Is this really about me? Am I triggered? Or is this truth, that self-awareness, that pause, this where growth lies? Because not everything needs your energy. Not every comment needs a clap back. Not every situation deserves access to your emotion. Sometimes the greatest strength is restraint. Not because you're weak, but because you're wise. You understand that your peace costs too much to spend it on nonsense. And the more grounded you become, the less you need to prove that you're right. You start choosing what's right for you, not what looks impressive to them. You choose presence over pride, wholeness over reaction. There's power in knowing that you can feel something without becoming it. You can feel anger without becoming rage. You can feel sadness without becoming despair. You can feel pressure without becoming frantic. When your grounded emotions move through you, not over you, you no longer fear your feelings. You observe them, honor them, and choose what to do with them. That's authority. That's emotional stewardship. Being grounded is how you protect your day from being hijacked. It's how you stop handing over control of your peace to circumstances you can't predict. You start the day centered, and even if things shift, even if people fall short, even if plans change, you don't lose you. That center place is your home, your anchor. And when you live from that place, you don't just survive the day, you shape it. People may try to provoke you. Deadlines may press on you. Unexpected news may shake you. But when you're grounded, you return to your breath. You return to your truth. You return to your boundaries. You remind yourself, I don't have to match the chaos. I can hold still. I can hold peace. I can hold power. It's not about pretending life is perfect. It's about deciding you won't let life pull you out of alignment. And some days, being grounded will look like grace. Other days it will look like a firm no. But always it will look like you showing up as the version of yourself that's not moved by the storm, but strengthened by it. You're not here to be reactive. You're here to be rooted. Every day, every moment, on purpose. You are not here to move through life aimlessly, handing pieces of your heart to people in places that don't honor its worth. You are here to live from a centered place, a place of truth, wisdom, and deep reverence for who you're becoming. You are learning to guard what is sacred, to choose peace over performance, and to walk with a discernment that won't let you be deceived by distraction. Your healing has cost you too much to live unprotected. Your growth has taught you too much to remain ungrounded. So now you choose with clarity. You love with boundaries. You listen to your spirit more than the noise. And above all, you move with the quiet confidence of someone who knows your heart is not just a vessel, it is ardent. And only what is worthy should be allowed to plant seeds there. So today and every day, may you rise rooted in peace, covered in wisdom, and fiercely guarded by the truth of who you are.